Chapter 1. How to speak English fluently. Fluency is the ability to speak a language with ease, without any hiccups. Now, you must be wondering what I mean by without any hiccups. Do not take that literally. It is an idiom. An idiom is a group of words whose actual meaning is different from the literal meaning. Without any hiccups does not mean speaking a language without suffering from a bout of hiccups. What it means is speaking a language without stopping and stuttering and being unsure of how to use your words. Fluency means knowing how to use your words with ease and comfort. Fluency comes with practice. You cannot study every How to Speak English book and expect to be fluent in the language. Practice is a must. Also, if you think you read well and so you must be fluent as well, you are mistaken. Reading and speaking are very different. The thing with learning English is that you need not concentrate on the grammar while speaking. Concentrate on conversing. English is a weird language with a lot of loopholes. Practice. Practicing speaking in English is a must. You cannot learn how to speak fluently otherwise. The reason for this is the slang that has infiltrated the language and also the utter lack of regard for grammatical rules while speaking. However, if one starts using correct grammar, by the book, English would sound extremely weird. Small talk. Learn how to begin a conversation. This will also grow your confidence. While standing in line, ask the person in front or behind you a simple question such as, "What time is it?" Try continuing with the conversation. If you have trouble understanding the person, politely ask them to repeat what they said. Normally people say, "I'm sorry," but you could also say pardon, confidence. Practicing English speech will require confidence. During a social gathering, start small conversations. Do not hesitate to ask the person to repeat him or herself. If you do not understand the meaning of a particular word or phrase, ask them to clarify. Chances are they know you are in the learning process and would gladly help. Do not think that you can go home and open Google Translations and type in the word or phrase they used. This does not work. Also, do not feel embarrassed when somebody corrects you. You could also go to a karaoke bar. Listen, reading and speaking is not enough. Listen to how people speak, the pronunciations, and the way words are used. Watch TV, listen to songs, etc. This way, you are listening to other people speak and observe how they pronounce the words. Read books, read novels. Concentrate on the formation of the sentences. Novels have dialogues, a conversation between two people that you can use to your advantage. Notice how people speak. They do not pay attention to the grammar as much as they do to talking. Also, when you are reading, mark every unusual phrase or word and find out what it means. Incorporate new words into your vocabulary. Do not translate. Avoid translating what you hear or what you say. Translating a phrase from your mother tongue to English or vice versa will completely ruin the actual meaning of the phrase. It will also most likely be incorrect. Instead, use a dictionary. Study words and phrases. I've been using the term phrases a lot. You may know 1,000 words in the language, but putting them together and making an intelligible sentence could be difficult. This is because you are not concentrating on using the words you are learning. To speak fluently, you need to learn how to put words together into phrases and sentences. Idioms. Idioms are an essential part of the English language. You will find yourself dumbstruck if you do not understand idioms. You might hear somebody saying, "break a leg" to you before your English exam, and you would be baffled at why somebody would want you to break a leg. Break a leg is actually an idiom meaning best of luck, or I hope you do well. Fluency in English requires the knowledge of idioms. Do not think of yourself as a student. To become fluent, think of yourself as a person who can speak English. You will make mistakes, but these are the building blocks. As a student, you would probably find yourself studying grammar books. This is not important. To speak English properly, you do not need to study grammar books. You would also be wasting a lot of your time by reading these books. Recruit a friend as a mentor. An English-speaking friend is the perfect person to be with when learning the language. Surrounding yourself with people who can speak English fluently is important. You can ask a friend to help you along the way. Make it a point to talk in English, no matter how scattered it sounds. Ask friends and colleagues to correct you if you are wrong. Movies and songs build a library of English songs and movies. This works better than just reading or listening to others speak. Songs and movies stick to your mind. My Fair Lady is a good movie to watch since you are learning English. Think in English, make it a point to think in English and not your mother tongue. Whenever you are talking to yourself or thinking, do it in English. This way, you will become more comfortable with the idea of speaking and learning the language. Record yourself every night before going to bed. Record your day's events in an audio journal in English. You will find that you speak much better when you do not have to worry about embarrassing yourself in front of others. When you realize that you can speak reasonably well without stumbling around, your confidence will grow, and you will find yourself initiating conversations. Incorporate these points in your day-to-day life. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Watch an English movie twice and concentrate on how a person speaks. Step 2. On a piece of paper, note down all idioms and colloquialisms you come across. Step 3. Look up their meanings. Step 4. Make your own sentences and try incorporating them in your everyday life. Chapter 2. Ways to leverage your English listening habits. The English language has a lot of slang, colloquialisms, and idioms. The only way to master these is by listening. Listening will improve your speaking capabilities hugely. You will learn the correct pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, accent, and intonation. One can apply what you hear in your daily life. Make it a point to listen to the radio or TV while doing random chores. All human beings learn a language by listening. Make sure you watch a movie without subtitles. Singing is a great fun way to improve your pronunciation. It can also develop fluency. Remember, developing your English listening skill is not only important to learn the language, it is also important because a person is not going to repeat himself over and over, waiting for you to understand. Watching a movie without subtitles will teach you how to keep up with what a person is saying. Role-playing also helps in improving speech. Watch an English movie that you are fond of over and over again till you understand it complete, and then enact the movie yourself. Repeat this exercise with another movie. This will not only improve your speech, it will also improve your ability to listen. Listening and repeating is the best way to learn a language. I know people who have learned a complete language perfectly just by watching the movies and listening to the songs. Of course, this works better if the language you are trying to learn is closer to your own native language. However, remember that English is a mix of a number of different languages. How to strengthen English listening habits. Now, in order to strengthen your English listening habits for an extra leverage, let us take a look at the 3 types of listening one must indulge into and further ways to improving your skills in each. Type 1. Passive or inactive listening. Passive listening plays a dormant role in the communication process. The listener simply listens and absorbs the meaning of the language and is not expected to react or put his views across. As a foreign learner, passive listening allows you to acquaint the verbal form of speech and take time to assimilate what you listen. It is the most comfortable way of taking massive input. Here are some important aspects you can instill to maximize learning from passive listening. Focus on understanding each word in individual sense and in correlation with the constructed sentences. Do not deviate your concentration in putting emphasis on preconception of the context while listening. Rehearse and summarize in your mind what you comprehended from the speech as an aftermath. Take note on how vocabulary is used interchangeably to get a hand on varied ways of expressive ability. If possible, pen down the main frame of sentences in shorthand for further reference. Keep observation on the pauses used while conveying the emotion of the context. There are clause, sentence, and paragraph pauses in conversational speech in a rhythmic pattern, which you must focus on while listening English. As a foreign listener, at times the speech might sound out of your pace to absorb the meaning of it. Do not get intimidated with the volume of words and sentences while listening, as it might keep you from taking whatever input you can anyway. In case of listening live to a speaker, note the lip movement made while pronouncing the syllables, vowels, and consonants differently. Type 2. Extensive listening. Furthermore, and beyond specific information, extensive listening includes listening to long textual narratives, which in return builds the listener's stamina to take in more and more bulk of conversational language and understand the contextual reference in larger lengths. After listening to a particular audiobook on repetitive mode, you will observe that you are consciously picking up the pronunciation and can fairly summarize the meaning in portions. Extensive listening is a great self-tutoring method for learning second languages. While making extensive listening a habit, keep the following points in mind for exceptional learning. Use different mediums like English audiobooks, recordings, videos, entertainment pieces, musicals, debates, and dialogues for extracting a variety of accents, speech alterations, and genres of vocal English. To avoid hurtling up while listening extensively, pick a topic of interest and listen through till the end. Since mostly you can repeat and take a pause while listening to pre-recorded mediums, list down new words and phrases you come across and look up for the meaning of complex vocabulary to keep up with the flow of speech. One of the best way to keep a log of different pronunciations while listening to voluminous text is to pen down the words as they sound. This will give you an edge on the phonic tone to understand what you listen better. Type 3. Responsive listening. In interpersonal communication, responsive listening is the half-kernel of the two-way process. Now, as a non-native learner, getting into habit of responsive listening is a place where you are active as a listener as well as a speaker. Engaging yourself with this type of listening will build your grasping speed and make you spontaneous with the language. Once you start practicing it as a habit, you can further optimize listening through these elements. Responsive listening is a behavioral act. Keep the focal point on listening calmly rather than getting anxious about how you would frame your response. Ask the speaker to reiterate if you do not get the context clearly. It is always better and elucidating to seek clarification rather than responding in irrelevance. Take time to apprehend what you listen before jumping to a response. It is observed that very often people practice prejudiced listening and neglect the minutes. As a settler to the foreign language, you must keep a flexible and open mind while listening so as to ingest the actual meaning of what is being spoken. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Watch an English movie. Step 2. Make an honest list of all the words that you thought were pronounced in a different way. Step 3. By the end of the movie, if your list is small, your pronunciation is not so bad. However, if your list is long, you need to work on pronouncing those words. Step 4. If you are not sure about the pronunciation, use the help of internet tools or download a dictionary app on your phone to help with correct yourself. Chapter 3. Easy Methods for Improving English Reading Skills. Learning how to read is an important part of learning English. It expands your vocabulary and gives you fluency. If you are in a country where English is the main language, you will not get by without learning how to read. Also, reading is substantially easier than speaking and writing, or even listening. Remember to always read a book that is of your level. Do not get ambitious and read a book above your level, because that would involve words that you will not understand. Reading English can get downright weird. Why? Read and read have the same spelling but different meanings as well as pronunciations. Read is pronounced as read, which is in present tense, while read is pronounced as read, which is in the past tense. A few steps for you to start improving your reading skills are explained below. Decide what you want to read. Preferably, you should stick to reading a book that is your level. Do not decide to read Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. You can do that when you have successfully mastered the language. That novel will not disappoint. You can read children's books, newspapers, comics, or anything else. Once you have decided, go pick up the books from the library or bookshop. Take it slow. Reading takes patience. Do not try rushing through the book or newspaper. Concentrate on every word that you read. If you do not understand a particular word or phrase, look it up in a dictionary or on Google. Do not proceed without understanding it completely. Reread. Rereading is a good exercise. You know how when you watch a movie for the second time, you pick out all that bits of information that you missed out on the first time you watched it? Rereading does the exact same thing. At times, while reading, a person phases out. That means he or she is reading, but not really concentrating or understanding. A second read makes everything clearer. A list of unfamiliar words. Make a list of all the new words you come across with their meaning. After you finish reading the text, go through this list and try using the words in your daily life. Read aloud. Read every few sentences or paragraphs out loud. Concentrate on your pronunciation. This will help in developing fluency while reading. Fluency in speech is not the only thing that is important. Summarize. Once you are done reading, summarize everything you read by either writing it down or by speaking out in front of friends and family. You could also do this by yourself in front of the mirror. Remember to do this in English. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Pick an English book or topic over the internet of your interest. Step 2. Keep a dictionary, pen, and a paper alongside. Step 3. Scan, skim, and start reading the text out loud in a subtle speech. Step 4. Break the words that are difficult to pronounce at one go into sounds and speak in a connecting flow. You don't know how that particular word sounds, refer to an audio dictionary and follow. Egg. Anticipation equals anticipation. Step 5. Note down new phrases, words, and expressions you come across while reading, and simultaneously take meaning from the dictionary. Step 6. On completion, review the topic in your head. Step 7. Note the estimated time you took to read the text, number of words read, and as a trend, try and speed up with every third time you read. Chapter 4. Simple techniques for memorizing. Extensive vocabulary. Phrases and idioms. The hardest part is memorizing all those new words. It has to be done, though. You cannot hope to master the language successfully without learning the words and phrases that make it up. The best way to expand your vocabulary and knowledge of idioms is through reading. Hence, making that list of new words is important. However, watching English movies will give you a bigger knowledge of idioms and phrases. Now, when you build your English vocabulary as well as stock of phrases and idioms, you can disintegrate your learning into 2 levels. Fundamental level. There are 2,000 to 2,500 words which are called the foundation blocks of English language. These words are not particularly listed, but comprise of each first word for every meaning that you learn to the count. These include certain words like how, why, where, which are not replaceable by another word. For phrases and idioms, The cardinal ones will fall in the fundamental category, extensive level. Every word, phrase, or idiom with similar or opposite meaning and intent, as of the fundamental ones, will form the extensive list for a more in-depth learning. Tips for expanding vocabulary. One word at a time. Do not try to learn the entire dictionary in a weekend. That will not do you any good. Start small. Once you find a new word, incorporate it in your daily use. Spend every spare minute reading read, read, and read. Books will expand your vocabulary to a large extent. Pay close attention to what you are reading. If you do not understand a word, use a dictionary to find its meaning. Context skills. Usually, while reading it is easy to decipher the meaning of a word from the sentence it is used in, i.e., the context. In this sentence, you can figure out that the word decipher means to understand or convert into normal language. If you come across a word that you cannot completely understand before turning to the dictionary, trying figuring out what the word could mean. Then, you can cross-check with the dictionary to see if you were right. This will build your context skills, and it is important in English because a lot of words are similar and pronounced in the same way. Some words even have the same spelling, but mean something completely different. Practice. Of course, practice makes perfect. Use the new vocabulary you have, or you might forget it before you even get a chance to use it. After learning a word and understanding the context it is used in, make it a point to put that word in your sentences. Use the dictionary. I know I said, do not learn the dictionary in a day, but skimming through it and picking out words that fascinate you is a good exercise. Learn these words and use them so you get used to the context they are used in. Play with words. Play games like Scrabble or Words with Friends or Ruzzle. These games can increase your vocabulary in a fun way. Ask friends to help you along the way. Since these games have a competitive twist, you intend to learn new words faster. Even Pictionary is a good game to learn new words. Since you are drawing the words out, the meaning of the word stays with you. Crosswords. Make it a point to do the crossword every day. They can be a little overwhelming, but with a little help, one can usually manage to complete the whole thing. They not only give you new words as you go through the thesaurus, but your general knowledge also expands. I think this is a brilliant exercise for learning a language. Write a journal. Start a written journal where you pen down your thoughts in English. This way you can practice writing as well. Remember to use the words you learned that day. Listen. When others speak, listen. Observe how native English speakers use their words. Do not hesitate in asking what they mean if you don't understand something. When you learn listen, you will also learn the usage of idioms, phrases, slang, and colloquialisms. This will make you more fluent as well as understandable. Associations. When you learn a new word, associate it with something so that you have an easier time recalling it later. It could be a color, a feeling, another word, or anything else. For example, quintessential, one of my favorite words, means the perfect example of something. You can associate it with your favorite dish, your favorite actress or actor, your parents. Use these associations to remember the word. Make a list of words in a diary you keep with you. Make a list of all the words you come across in a day. When you get home or in your free time, open a dictionary and find the meanings of each word you collected. Learn the roots. Make it a point to learn the roots of the words. This is an interesting way to remember the words. Mostly every word in English has roots in either Latin or Greek. It is fun to learn how the word came about. Languages keep evolving, so a word that meant something in the 17th century would not mean the same today. Use the word again. This point is so important that I am repeating is over and over again. If you do not use the words you learn, you will forget them. Learn to use the words. Make is a habit. Prefixes and suffixes. English has a lot of words that use prefixes and suffixes. A prefix is a word that is added before another word. A suffix, on the other hand, is a morpheme that is added to the end of a word. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Pick a subject or a noun. Step 2. Look for words and descriptive phrases in the dictionary which can describe or narrate about the subject. Step 3. Note down the relevant words with its meaning, synonyms, and antonyms. Step 4. Now, using those words, construct descriptive sentences about the subject and place phrases in the right sequence. Step 5. Repeat the process with other topics, objects, and nouns. Chapter 5. Some quick steps to learn. English grammar. Grammar can be pesky and annoying. It is not easy to learn because there are so many rules that simply do not make sense. For example, the pronunciations of cat as cat and price as prize does not make sense. Grammar can be defined as a set of notions about the correct use of a language. English grammar is extensive. The words can be distinguished into nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, prepositions, and conjunctions. A little introduction into the basics of grammar is important so that you understand how things work. Nouns. In the simplest form, a noun is used to identify a name, place, animal, or thing. It is also the largest English word class. Noun phrases are sentences that function as nouns. For example, the Eiffel Tower is in Paris. Pronouns function in place of nouns and noun phrases. These include personal pronouns, interrogative pronouns, demonstrative pronouns, and relative pronouns. For example, I, you, we, she, he, they are all pronouns. For example, they stabbed him in the back. Verbs describe actions. For example, she is singing. It is used for a word that describes any action being performed. Adjective. An adjective describes an attribute of a word or phrase. For example, she is singing beautifully. Adverb. An adverb is a word that modifies a verb, an adjective, or another adverb. For example, Seabiscuit was the fastest runner at the Derby. Conjunctions. A conjunction is a word that is used to connect two sentences. It creates a logical relation between two phrases. For example, and, or, but, nor, as well as neither, for, so, etc. are called conjunctions. Preposition. A preposition is a word that shows the relation of a noun or pronoun to other words in the sentence. For example, the book is in the shelf. Speaking English is different from speaking correct English. For someone who has been speaking in English his or her entire life, grammar comes naturally. I know a lot of people who can speak English and get their point across, but their grammar is not that great. There are a few steps you can take to practice your grammar skills. Understand the parts of speech. Learn all the parts of speech. Essentially, every word in a sentence can be categorized into a word class. When you are reading a book or the newspaper, try figuring out which words are the nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, pronouns, conjunctions, and prepositions. Look for structures. Observe how people use their words and how books are written. There are certain structures that stay the same. Identify mistakes. There are a lot of mistakes in the way English is spoken and written, even by native English speakers. However, when learning a new language, some words may be difficult for your native speakers. This differs from language to language. For example, Russians have trouble understanding the difference between the use of a and the. Exercises perform grammatical exercises. You could do this on the internet, or you could buy a children's English school book. Complete at least one exercise in a day. This is how children learn grammar. There is no other way to do it. Hire a tutor. It would be advisable for you go hire a tutor to guide you. Only a tutor can tell you that you are wrong and correct your mistakes. Colleagues and friends might not correct you for fear of embarrassing you or hurting your feelings. Do not translate. Translating English to your native language or vice versa will inevitably create mistakes. Let you native language be and concentrate only on English. Translating generally spoils the grammar of the sentence. Listen. When you are listening, you are hearing correct grammar. You could either listen to yourself while reading aloud, or you could watch TV. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Pick an English book or newspaper to read. Step 2. Keep a pen and paper with your. Preferably a small notebook specifically for components of grammar. Step 3. While reading, go one paragraph at a time and note down the nouns, verbs, adjective, and adverbs that you come across. Step 4. Try making your own sentences using these words. Step 5. Repeat the same process for the next paragraph. Chapter 6. Most used English vocabulary. Imperative to learn. English has an extensive vocabulary. It is loaded with homophones, homonyms, and homographs. Homonyms, words with same spellings and pronunciations but different meanings, homophones. Words that sound similar but have different spellings and meaning, homographs. Words that are spelled the same but have different pronunciations and meanings. Homophones 1. Advise. Advise is a verb. For example, I advise you to bring bottled water. Advice. Advice is a noun. For example, I need your advice. 2. Affect. Affect is a verb, which means to influence. For example, the injury won't affect her performance. Effect. Effect is a noun. That means the outcome or result. When used as a verb, effect means to produce a result. For example, the song had a calming effect on the baby. 3. Allude. Allude is a verb, which meaning calling attention to indirectly. It is a coy. For example, the paintings allude to Rembrandt. Elude means to evade or get away from something. For example, Michael Scofield eluded the cops. 4. Allusion. An allusion is an indirect or casual reference. For example, the novel's title is an allusion to Shakespeare. Illusion. An illusion is false idea or image. For example, the tension between illusion and reality. 5. All. Used to refer to the whole quantity. For example, she left all her jewelry to her daughter All, a small pointed tool used for piercing holes. For example, he used an awl to pierce the leather. 6. Immoral. Lacking a moral sense, unconcerned with the rightness or wrongness of something. For example, a immoral attitude to gender discrimination. Immoral means violating conscience or public morality. For example, an immoral and unwinnable war. 7th Ark, Noah's Ark, or a vessel that serves as protection against extinction. For example, a starship built by their android protectors Ark, a curved shaped. For example, the huge arc of the sky ate bazaar. Bazaar is a marketplace. For example, Tony went to the bazaar to buy vegetables. Bizarre. Bizarre, on the other hand, means something unusual and spooky. For example, the Bermuda Triangle incidents are bizarre. 9. Bridal. Bridal concerns a wedding or bride. For example, bridal traditions will never go away. Bridle. A bridle is a horse harness or a rope. It could also mean to keep under control. For example, the fact that she was the servant bridled her tongue. 10th. Coin. An external corner of a wall. For example, coign of vantage is a phrase meaning a favorable position for observation or action coin, a flat, typically round piece of metal with an official stamp used as money or to invent or devise a new word or phrase. For example, he showed me how we could make a lot of coins, or he coined the term desktop publishing. 11. Colonel, an army officer of high rank. For example, the Jawan saluted as the colonel drove by. Kernel, a softer, usually edible part of a nut, or the central of most important part of something. For example, this is the kernel of the argument. 12th. Complement, a thing that completes or brings to perfection. For example, the libretto proved a perfect complement to the music complement, a polite expression of praise admiration. For example, the bride was complimented by many of her wedding day. 13. Doe, a female deer. For example, the safari saw a doe and her fawn doe, a thick, malleable mixture of flour and liquid used for baking or lots of money. For example, the dog ate the cookie dough. 14. Elicit, evoke or draw out. For example, A corrupt heart elicits in an hour all that is bad in us illicit, forbidden by law, rules, or customs. For example, adolescents have started using illicit drugs. 15th, gorilla, a powerfully built great ape. For example, the gorillas were creating a ruckus in the jungle gorilla, a member of a small independent group taking part in irregular fighting. For example, the guerrilla warfare was getting out of hand. 16. Imminent. Imminent means pervading or existing within. For example, the room's imminent tension made her anxious. Imminent. Imminent means about to happen. For example, the exam period is imminent. Eminent. Eminent means distinguished. For example, he was an eminent scholar. 17. Knead. Massage or squeeze with the hands. For example, the bakers needed the dough knead. Require something because it is essential or very important. For example, I don't need your sarcasm. 18. License. License is the noun. For example, one who is licensed to perform dental surgery has a dental surgeon's license. License. License is the verb. 19. Nay, or rather, more than that. For example, it will take months, nay years, nay. A characteristic high-pitched sound uttered by a horse, e.g. The horses neighed in excitement on seeing their master. 20th principle, a fundamental truth or proposition that serves as the foundation for a system of belief or behavior. For example, a man of principle, principle, the first in order of importance. For example, the country's principal cities. 21. Shear, cut something, such as wool, hair, or grass, with scissors or shears. For example, I'll shear off all the fleece sheer, nothing other than unmitigated. For example, she giggled with sheer delight. 22nd. Stake, a strong wooden or metal post with a point at one end. For example, they used stakes to support the trees. Steak, a slice of meat or fish, especially beef, cooked by broiling, frying, etc. For example, he liked his steak rare. 23rd team, 2 or more people working together. For example, he teamed up with the band to produce the album Team, be full of or swarming with. For example, every garden is teeming with wildlife. 24. Toe, any of the 5 digits at the end of a human foot. Push, touch, or kick with one's toe. For example, he toed off his shoes and flexed his feet. Tow, pull along with a rope or chain. For example, the car had to be towed once it stalled. 25. Vain, conceited, producing no result. For example, a vain attempt to tidy up the room vein, device for showing wind direction vein, a blood vessel, streak, crack. For example, he felt the adrenaline course through his veins. 26. We used to refer to the speaker together with other people regarded in the same category. For example, nobody knows kids better than we teachers do. We, little, very small, very early. For example, in the wee hours of the morning. 27. Whine, a complaining tone of voice. For example, the whine of the engine wine, an alcoholic drink made of fermented grape juice. For example, He opened a bottle of red wine. 28th. Wretch, an unfortunate or unhappy person, a despicable or contemptible person, e.g., ungrateful wretches, wretch, make a sound or movement of vomiting. For example, the poor child retched during the flight homographs and homonyms. There are also words such as homonyms and homographs. Homographs are words with different meanings and pronunciations but same spellings, while homonyms are words with different meanings but same spellings and pronunciations. Homographs are words such as read, read, and read, read. 1. Bow, a weapon used for shooting arrows, a ribbon tied with 2 knots, bending your head to show respect to a king. 2. Wound, an injury, wrap around something. Dritte Minute, etwas klein und winzig, eine Zeitspanne. 4. Zoe, planting a seed in the ground, an adult female pig. 5. Tear. Tears are what comes out of your eyes when you cry, ripping or breaking something. Some homonyms to look out for are 1. Book. One could refer to the book you are reading or to booking a seat at a restaurant or booking a ticket. 2. Peer. It could mean looking at something or a person your own age. 3rd fair. A fair could be a place you go to have fun, or it would mean being just and reasonable. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Keep a pocket notebook with yourself all the time. Step 2. Concentrate on people's speech. Step 3. Pick out words that have noticed as homophones, homonyms, and homographs. Step 4. Categorize these words in different sections. Step 5. Find their different meanings and uses. Chapter 7. English Writing. Improvement Tricks and Tips. As I said earlier, a language has 4 components: reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Each of these components is complementary to the other. Once you know how to listen, read, and speak English, it is time to finish the process by writing properly. Writing is probably the easiest to do. However, one can make mistakes in spelling. Also, a person thinks and writes at different speeds, and that could unintentionally ruin the sentence. Still, writing is not all that easy. Problems arise when it comes to punctuation marks. Write, write, write. Just like reading and expanding your vocabulary, writing properly involves a lot of practice. Pick a topic and start writing. Do this exercise every day. Make a portfolio of all your pieces and review them in a month, looking for mistakes that you made. Once you are done, ask a friend to edit it for you. Learn the correct version. Once you have figured out your mistakes, make it a point to learn the correct version. Incorporate the corrected version in your next piece of writing exercise. Avoid using a guide. While you are practicing your writing skills, do not use a guide or dictionary. Make mistakes and then learn from those mistakes. If you do not make mistakes, you will never learn. Once you know the mistakes you made, start writing again and try correcting those same mistakes. Use new words and phrases. Make it a point to use at least 2 new words and phrases, as well as idioms, slang, and colloquialisms in your article. Make sure you ask somebody to correct these if they are wrong. Punctuation. The punctuation marks you use at the end of each sentence will set the tone of that particular sentence. Whether it is an exclamation or a question, it depends on how you frame your sentence. Do it right now. Steps to start improving instantly. Step 1. Pick a topic that interests you and that you are passionate about. Step 2. Start a blog based on the topic. Chapter 8. The hidden secrets that will help you learn English in a weekend. Since you can read English, you could strive to perfect it in one weekend. It will not be easy to learn everything there is to learn in a weekend, but if you work hard enough, it can be done. However, implementing what you learn is probably the hardest part. Speak English daily. Do not slip up and start using your native language. Even when you are with your own people, speak in English. If you do not have any way to speak English outside, do it at home. Watch TV or read a book and repeat out loud. Not speaking English will not help you learn. You have to use it to remember it. Study it every day. For at least 1 hour, study the language. Study the words, the history of the words, learn the grammatical rules, etc. Even if you spend only half an hour a day, that will work. Think of your English skills as a piece of iron that will rust and break apart if you do not study and oil it. Goals. Setting goals for yourself is a good way to learn English. Pick common everyday words and decide to use them regularly by the end of the week or month. You could set any goal you want. This would also turn learning English into a challenge with yourself. Be confident. Being confident means speaking English when you are outside, even if you are not good at it. Do not apologize for not being able to speak properly. Instead, ask for help and advice. It is essential to be confident, or you will never have the courage to speak out in the open, and you will never find out what your level of English is. Keep a small notebook with you. While you are learning, it would be a good idea to keep a notebook with you at all times. Every time you come across a word that you do not understand, write it down. After that, look for its meaning. At the end of your day, go through this list and learn the words on it. Try making sentences in which you can use these new words that you learned. This is a good practice because without writing down the words, chances are that you will forget them. Learn to listen. Speaking in English with other people is not your only challenge. You also have to learn to listen. Speaking and listening require two different parts of your body. You have to train your ears to listen to a new language and differentiate the words. Listen as much as you can. You could also read aloud, and this way you would be listening to yourself. Do not lose confidence. Learning anything new can be emotionally draining, but do not start thinking in a negative way. Instead of thinking, I can't, think, I will. Set a date, say a year or 2 years down the line, when you will be a fluent speaker, reader, and writer in English. Work hard. Everything requires hard work, even learning a language. It is important not to think of it as something that will happen in its own time. You can work hard and reduce your learning time. treat yourself. Motivation is the best tool. Treat yourself and your friends to dinner after you complete a particular goal. Also, ask your friends to test you. This way, you will not only look forward to dinner with friends every weekend, but also to completing goals on time. Thesaurus. To develop a vast vocabulary, use a thesaurus. Learn different words with the same meanings, and then use these words in a sentence. Here, you might also see a word that you find fascinating. Group study. If you know other people trying to learn English, propose a group study. They always work better than trying to study alone. In the group, test each other using flashcards. This will not only be fun, but you will retain more when you are in a group. Spellings. Do not just learn new words. Remember to learn their spellings as well. Spelling is important to learn pronunciations. However, many times in English, the words are not always pronounced as they are spelled. I would suggest using an online source to perfect your pronunciations and then writing each word while pronouncing it aloud. This will develop an association in your brain for the word. Pay attention to idioms and colloquialisms. To talk like a native English speaker, it is important to pay special attention to idioms and colloquialisms. Make a separate notebook for these and follow the same process you use for learning words. Revise. Revise every word you have learned during the week on Sunday or any other day. This way, you ensure that the words stay with you. Remember to speak out loud so you hear yourself and your ears are trained to catch the words. English movies and songs. Whenever you have time on your hands, watch an English movie. This way, you will get used to the idea of listening to and speaking English. It will begin to seem like a natural language. Songs can be heard at any time, so pick your favorite songs and play them. Pay attention to pronunciations. Do not use subtitles, or you will not pay attention to what the person is saying. Books are for reading. When you are watching a movie, listen. Do it right now. Steps to start improving. Instantly. Step 1. Pick a topic that is trending. Step 2. Decide on your opinion on the topic. Step 3. Prepare a speech on paper. Step 4. In a gathering of friends or family, deliver this speech. Chapter 9. Common mistakes to avoid for beginners. English is a confusing language. There is no doubt about that. There are a lot of mistakes even native speakers make. Focusing on grammar. This is the most common mistake new learners make. If you focus on correcting your grammar, your English would sound extremely weird to a native speaker. Grammar actually hurts your ability to speak English. Confusing in time and on time means punctual. For example, I am always on time, whereas in time means before a deadline. For example, I submitted my college assignment just in time. Practice using these two phrases. Gender pronouns. It is common to make mistakes with he, she, him, her. In languages where no gender is specified, it can be a problem for people to learn gender-specific pronouns. In many cases, people mix up he and she. It does not cause any difference in speech, but would make for very funny incidents. Fun and funny. A lot of people make mistakes with fun and funny. Fun is a noun, while funny is an adjective. For example, the rides were fun and my friend is funny. Something that causes enjoyment and pleasure is fun. On the other hand, a person or incident that can make you laugh is funny. Singular and plural. This is another common mistake for people learning English. Sometimes new learners do not place this at the end of a word to make it plural. Problems arise when a word is considered uncountable or when a name already ends with "ans." For example, if a person's last name is Smiths, you would not say, "There are a lot of Smithses in our building." You would say, "There are a lot of Smiths in our building." Less and fewer, less and fewer are confusing terms and are often used interchangeably. There are not less people. There are fewer people. A and the another common mistake is the use of a and the. A is used when referring to something for the first time. The is used when referring to something specific. Do not use these articles when speaking about things in general, such as means, transport, or places. Who and that who is used for a person, while that is used for an object. This is a common mistake. Who describes a living being. For example, the boy who yelled wolf and the cycle that rolled off the hill. Do it right now. Steps to start improving. Instantly. Step 1. Go on the internet and look up common mistakes made while learning English for your native language. Step 2. Keep a pen and paper beside you. Step 3. Write down all the mistakes you have been making. Step 4. Understand the correct way to use the words or phrases. Step 5. Make your own sentences using these words and phrases. Chapter 10. Secret Bonus. 50 most commonly used English words. Here are 50 of the most common used words of English language. The, he, at, but, there, office, was, be, not, use, and, for, this, an, what, on, a, have, all, to, each, area, from which, were, in, as oriental, we, island, she, with mine, when, you, do, had, his, your, how, that, by, they, can, it, their, I, word, if, said. Make it a point to study these the most, since daily conversation will involve these words. Exercise 1. Write these words down and look up their meanings. Practice pronouncing, learning one daily for 5 minutes.